I can't say enough good things about you. Like,
You should stop.
you're such a good guy, man. It's ridiculous. Why are you such a good guy? Shouldn't you be all jaded and pissy and working in
I
the film
am.
industry for 10 years?
More like 14, but
Oh,
I
14.
mean, don't get me wrong. I got some of that JD sort of. It's tough not to get a little bit jaded doing some of this stuff
Yeah.
because,
Jadish.
well, jadish, yeah, shade of jade.
Shade. Oh, so much better. Yes.
Yeah, there's
We're
a
on
shade
one
of,
right now. This is going to
yeah,
be a
we
good one.
are. It's hard not to get a little jaded doing this stuff because it is a very difficult process. It's physically and mentally taxing, and there's certain ways that people handle that stress, and sometimes working with those people, it adds stress onto you, and or that shade of jade, put onto you somehow, because they tell you some story about how they got over in the business or something like that, and
They
then it,
project the jade.
yeah, exactly, they're
They project it.
projecting negativity, and I tried not to, but again, it's hard not to at times, because we're on our feet, walking around, putting in 15,000 steps a day when we're on set. A lot of the time, if we're not in a nice cushy studio,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's really hard to not bring some of that home with you. But
For sure. For
you know,
sure.
a lot of it too is personal outlook stuff too. I try to maintain some sense of optimism, and I try to see the good side in things best I can. Even now with the strikes and how slow the industry is, I'm still like, I've got this shred of optimism. Like, well, like the year's almost over. Next year's a fresh start. Things
Yeah.
will get back to normal. It might be me trying to convince myself, but I'm pretty confident in saying that that this is just a phase, and we will persevere. But there are a lot of people that are like, oh, this is the death of the film industry, and everyone's moving to Atlanta, and blah blah blah, and like, I don't think that's really the case. I think people are just overreacting. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the things got a little unstable there for a while, and I think that people are making the choice to wait until things stable, or get stable again, and
Stabilize. Yeah.
stabilize. And I'm sure that's to some degree the presidential election is involved in that decision, like who's going to be the next president, what are our tax codes going to be, that kind of stuff, before they formulate their next big plan. Talking about the studios, the big money stuff, but that all trickles down, like their decisions affect the decisions of the people down below them, and so on and so forth, because they're basing all those decisions off of a climate or like projections, that kind of crap.
Is it wise to base film decisions on that, dude? We're trying to make entertainment. We're trying to make people escape from this.
Yeah, that's true. Um, I
I don't know.
I struggle with it, because I want to operate in an idyllic world where the studio heads are basing their decisions off of creativity and like the needs of the market, but at the end of the day, it's a business. And businesses a lot of the time are ran off of stuff like projections, or like, what's the Asia film market doing, stuff like that. And we need to get this person because they brought in X amount of dollars for the last 3 projects that they did, that kind of thing. It's not based off of like who is best for the role, or is this movie worth making. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's
That was
more
the better
about
question.
it's more about, is this profitable or not? And a lot of those decisions are kind of blowing up in their face right now. Like, for instance, Borderlands did horribly at the box office, and on paper they did everything right in a business sense, right? They got Jack Black to be in it because he's a huge tentpole blockbuster movie star, and they got all
Yep.
these other people to do these
Kevin
different
Hart.
things.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart, exactly. He's a box office draw, but then they didn't think about the source material. They didn't think about is this movie necessary? They didn't think about, hey, maybe we should hire a different director than Eli Roth, who is the king of fucking gore. Like, why are we hiring this guy? Like, all these, like,
What was the rating on Borderlands?
Let me look that up. I did not
did it
see
even have an R rating?
Let's see. Borderlands movie. PG-13.
See,
Yeah.
Borderlands, PG-13, bro, like...
Huge audience that it potentially could have been open to. You know, you've got people like Cate Blanchett in there, Jamie Lee Curtis. You know, a lot of really good decisions on paper, but you know, there were a lot of bad ones too. And at the end of the day, that blew up in their face because that was a $100-something million movie.
Oh,
You know, they put
bro.
a lot of money into that movie, but they only got $33 million back.
That's fucking rough. What studio was behind that?
Lionsgate.
Oh, that's Lionsgate.
Lionsgate.
Dude, Megalopolis.
That one is self-funded.
Holy shit, brother. Self-funded. 120.
Yeah.
120, bro. And I'm hearing, and I don't know if this is true, but I'm hearing single digit. I heard it was like 8 million. And the internet,
it has a higher rating on Rotten Tomatoes than Borderlands, but it's still not great. It's 46%.
The internet is fucking tearing it up.
7.5 million. God. Oh, poor Francis.
Dude, I know.
He bet the farm
hard.
on that movie, dude.
He did.
Well, he didn't bet the whole farm, but he bet a big chunk of the farm on that.
Fucking 120 mil? Fuck, bro, that hurts, bro.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Like, I read something that it definitely hurts. It's a lot of money, but he's not going to be, you know, poor. He's still fine, you know. It's just it's a risk that didn't pay off yet, you know. And I say as in like maybe it'll find that cult following or something, and then everything will work out for him. But you know, right now it's not.
He's having a rough go at it right now. That's all I know. And the internet's fucking tearing it up. And it's like, you know, I was like, okay, you know, I was talking to my boy Ian, and I was like, yo, like, who knows? Could be one of those situations where it's like, oh, it did garner this cult following, and it got fucking an Oscar nomination. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, dude,
I mean,
Poor
it may
Things
be a
was
little
fucking
too late
weird,
for that.
dude.
Yeah, Poor Things was weird. And
have you seen Poor Things?
Yeah, it was very weird. And like,
very weird.
I'm not gonna shit on the director. I'm not gonna say that, you know, if you're a fan of his work, that's, you know, like you have bad taste or something, because that's not really what I'm about. You know, it was artistic. It was well made. There were a lot of really
very abstract.
Very abstract, and I typically don't watch stuff that abstract, which is why I don't like that director very much. Like The Lobster, I'm blanking on a couple of his other movies, but they're all like similar vein of abstractism, you know.
Right. And like, you know, it was very interesting that the way that they filmed it, you know, with the it would just like cut to this like super wide angle fisheye, you know, we could actually see the circular lens in the frame. The camera movement, I will say though, the production design was insane.
Production design
was crazy. And I mean, like, performances were great, and it was just fucking so weird, dude. I mean, just to put it as simply as I can, it's weird.
I don't know if you've ever seen The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, but it's a film school staple.
Is it?
It was made, I'm going to have to look that up. But it was
I've seen it on lists, you know what I mean? I've seen that on lists. I've never seen it, though, personally.
It's, 1920. It was a German expressionism film.
Okay.
And a lot of the sets were very abstract in that same vein where, like, they play with, like, the perspective and, you know, stuff like that. It was very avant-garde, I guess is the best way to say it. But
fucking Poor Things,
you know,
very avant-garde.
Yeah, and I respect the craft of both films. Neither film really stuck with me other than it was abstract. It was avant-garde. It was different, They didn't Poor Things definitely had like the story of it is you can suss it out easier than this German film from the 20s. But, it's still I like my filmmaking to be grounded in reality, mostly reality. I
Right.
don't mind fantastical things, or uh, you know, stuff like The Matrix or whatever. I can wrap my brain around stuff like that, but
Yeah.
that's all grounded in reality. That has a basis in reality, you know. And both of those other films that we were just talking about, they have their own world. They have their own environments and, their own laws of gravity and, like it's totally different, And that I can't wrap my brain around.
Yeah, it's
Like
that
the
it's that abstract expressionism kind of vibe.
mhm,
It's just like sometimes like, I know when a filmmaker wants to do something different. They want to approach it in a different way. They want to use those super wide lenses on that vintage fucking glass
mhm,
and give it this very unique look. And sometimes it draws so much attention onto itself that it kind of pulls you out of it.
mhm.
If you're cognizant of shit like that, like maybe like
Yeah,
the average moviegoer, the average consumer, it doesn't really notice those types of things. But maybe because like I'm in the industry, you're in the industry, when you
mhm,
see these types of things occurring throughout the movie, you're like, fucking, it draws a lot of attention to itself, and it can
yeah,
pull me out. You know what I mean?
mhm, yeah. Yeah, like when I was watching Poor Things, leading up to the award season that it was nominated for, uh, I had to force myself to finish it. I got about 20 minutes into it and I was like, I already know that I don't like this, but I'm gonna respect it and I'm gonna give it a chance. And it got nominated for a reason, so I should give it a shot. And I'm glad I did. It's not on my list of favorite movies or anything like that, you know.
No, no. Emma Stone's been in the game for a minute.
Yeah,
She
and she
does.
was
She doesn't. She was fucking
great
phenomenal. She
performance.
doesn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
she doesn't do like, and that's the thing. She doesn't like do like bad roles. So
Mm-mm.
I think like I feel like she deserved that shit. I feel
Yeah.
like she deserved winning that shit. And what did it get? Like 13 fucking nominations? Like,
Yeah.
dude, it got nominated out the ass, bro.
Yeah. And I definitely
11
have a
or
lot
some
of
shit.
yeah, let's look that up. I have a lot of respect for Emma Stone, and especially after her performance in that movie because it was very brave. It was very out of the box, and
Took
you
some
know
big swings on that one.
she took
Took
some
some
really
big
big
swings on that
swings,
one.
and nudity aside was still like a lot of big swings, but add that into the mix too, and it's like, oh my god, like she's like,
Fuck.
this is insane. Like she did a really great job, but and I think that speaks to how she's evolved as a actress, as a talent, because you know before that she's known for stuff like Superbad and what was that, Easy A, stuff like that. And this is a bolder performance, bolder, more risk involved, and I gotta applaud that.
Fucking A, man.
You know,
Absolutely.
because she could very easily have just done movies like Easy A forever. You know.
True, true. She kind of, I could see that she was trying to kind of step out of the lane a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's
But she won
that's
one for
good.
La La Land, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was in
Yeah.
that,
I mean,
and
I
I
don't
didn't
watch
love that
musicals.
movie.
I don't watch musicals.
I'm not a huge fan of
Yeah,
musicals
I don't
either.
do musicals.
I
No
don't like,
disrespect,
again, yeah, no
but
disrespect, but the thing
no
that bothers me
disrespect,
about
but not
musicals
a musical guy.
is, sorry, I was stepping over you. The thing that bothers me about musicals is all of the songs are them speaking their feelings instead of, and not rhyming, or very rarely rhyming. And there's something off-putting about that to me. Like as far as like movie musicals
It's
go,
so
I
fucking
get it in a theater, like, but I also don't really enjoy going to the
yeah.
theater for stuff like that.
It's
But
not my cup of tea. It's weird.
same.
It's it's one of those things, man, where it's just kind of weird. Recitative, what is it called? When they're singing everything in between, when they're singing
Mm-hmm.
Please hand me that glass of water.
Yes,
It's just, it's
like
weird.
It's weird, yeah.
I can't,
Yeah. I have
I
no
can't get on board
problem.
with it, bro.
I have no problem with, some of the subject matters and stuff that they might deal with in musicals. That doesn't bother me. But it's just the singing my feelings about everything. Not into it.
Yeah. Nah. And so that brings us to the Joker. People have also been ripping that to shreds on the internet. And when I heard that it was going to be a musical, I was like, what the fuck, dude? What the fuck are we doing here,
feeling.
bro? Like,
Yeah, same feeling.
it's just like it seems like a fucking a fumbled bag, bro. Just a missed opportunity, because a lot of people were like, people had their opinions on the movie, right? But like at the end of the day, man, like it would have been really dope to kind of see the rise of Joker, become the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
You have the ability with that R rating to explore it in a completely different fucking way, in a completely different light, to explore how he becomes that criminal mastermind would have been so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And you did a fucking musical. What the fuck are we doing here?
Here's the deadline headline. Joker Folie à Deux gets D cinema score, half star on post track, on way to $47 million opening. No one's laughing now. Harsh.
Yeah,
And,
bro. It's fucking that. Talk about a swing.
Yeah,
Talk
it
about
was
a
a
fucking
swing.
swing and a miss, bro.
Yeah, and I have, we can speculate about how that came to be, and I'm willing to bet that it was, somewhat the studio giving Todd Phillips more leeway, because of the success of the first Joker, or it could be like he didn't have a say at all, and the studios were like, nope, we're doing this because we think this is gonna hit, because we need a musical, or whatever reasoning there was behind it,
Yeah.
It's I mean, there's inherent risk with everything that we do in filmmaking, and we don't progress without taking risks. So in some ways, we have to take a shot at like a Joker musical and see what it does. But we also have to take the past into account. What do people like? Do people go to musicals in droves? I don't know that. Is there like maybe Les Miserables? Like, what was the last big musical movie that everybody came out in droves for?
I don't even know. Like, do people go to musicals in droves? Is that a thing?
Right. Let's see. Highest grossing musical.
Is there that big of a market for it? I don't know, bro. The fact that we went from the movie that we did to that movie, I would have want to see him like break out of Arkham Asylum and like recruit his goons and start like really turning that fucking city upside down. Like that's what I wanted to see, bro. Like that's
yeah.
I wanted
That's
to
what we
see him
expected.
become Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. I wanted to see him become the Joker.
I mean, yeah, we saw that transformation in the first one, but it was like we just saw him finally become him, but we didn't see anything else. We saw the city.
Yeah.
Spoiler alerts to anyone who hasn't seen the first one. We saw him get out of the new studio. The police, took him away, but then, the whole city is rioting, and then they, crashed the car or whatever and broke him out, and then, he's dancing on top of a car, and he, he achieved the accolades that he was looking for, but he found it in a more violent way, but then cut to black,
Yes.
Oh, no, sorry, I'm forgetting. He was in the insane asylum, and then he broke out.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, he like breaks out. It's again, it's like, all right, we saw him transform, but now what? Now he's a singing, dancing guy. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all.
Singing, dancing guy.
Like when in the history of the Batman franchise has Joker ever been that guy?
It's fucking
Never.
ridiculous, bro. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. When I heard it, I was pissed, bro.
Yeah.
Because man, when it comes to like a rated R superhero movie,
Mm-hmm.
God, you got so much more to explore with the
Oh yeah.
story. You
Yeah,
know what
like
I mean? Like, and
Deadpool
it's
and
just like
Wolverine.
fucking like yeah, bro, or look at Logan.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like you have this angle that you can take that you have not been afforded to take in previous franchises. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you had the opportunity to take this to like this fucking dark world of crime. And speaking of that, I've heard now through many people that Penguin is fucking incredible.
My roommate watched it and he said it was pretty great. I still need to get around to it, but I liked Colin Farrell and what was it? The Batman? Is that what it was called? The one with
The
Robert
Batman,
Pattinson?
yeah,
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 he was great in that, you know, and I was excited about watching the show after seeing that movie, but I have yet to dig into it. But I've heard the same thing through other people that I trust with critiques, you know.
yes,
So,
me too, me too.
yeah,
I've heard the it's like Batman Sopranos.
okay, I can get in on that.
That's what I
Love
heard.
love The
You know what
Sopranos.
I'm saying?
Love
I
Batman.
could dig it.
Yeah.
Fucking A.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah. We were talking about musicals. I
So I
wanted
wanna
to bring this up real quick. I looked up the highest grossing musical films. Let's see.
what
Out
do
of
we
the
got?
number one, Lion King, the remake.
Oh,
Number two is Frozen 2. Number three is Frozen. Number four, Beauty and the Beast. Number five, Aladdin. Number six, The Lion King original. So you get in the theme here.
I'm
Number
seeing the
seven,
theme.
number seven, The Jungle Book. Number eight, here's the outlier, Bohemian Rhapsody. You know, makes sense because it's a biopic about Freddie Mercury. Um,
Yes.
you
But
know,
would you consider that a musical?
I mean, I guess. I mean, it's called
They're like musical numbers
they call it a jukebox musical. So
because the songs, like his catalog, gets played
yeah,
throughout the movie. So, I mean, when you think about all those Disney properties, like you're not thinking about them being musicals. You're thinking about them
no,
as Disney movies.
right. They're Disney animated films that happen to have songs in them, but I don't think of them as musicals
Yeah.
because they have spoken word
No.
dialogue through a lot of the films. They
Right.
just do like a song
Yes.
break every, act or, at the act midpoint or the act break or whatever. They have like structured points, but, the majority of the film is, grounded in reality. They're speaking like normal humans speak, you know, or animals, and, like anthropomorphized animals,
So,
you
yeah.
know. Um, it yeah, I don't think of them as musicals. And then yeah, you have to go
And
all
they're
the way
like
down to number
they're
12.
animated.
Yeah, and they're animated too. Yeah, it's not live action. But yeah, number 12 is Mamma Mia. It's the same thing, a jukebox musical, because it's a bunch of, ABBA and God knows what else other songs are in there, I think it is just ABBA. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's like that's the theme though. It's like the majority of them are Disney films, animated children's films. So
Yeah,
why
bro.
why take that
That's
huge
different. That's
why
not the
take that
same
huge
market.
$100 million risk on a musical like that? It's crazy.
They're not aiming at the
God
Disney
no.
demo.
Yeah, if they're playing in a rated R Joker universe, no. But
You
whatever.
know
What do I
what?
know? What do I know?
That's what I'm saying. I'm just a guy.
I'm just the guy
I'm
that
just a
makes the
guy with an
films.
opinion.
Yeah, and I have my opinions too. You know, but the opinions that I do have are informed. They don't come out of left field necessarily. Like I have my theories and opinions about the state of the industry right now, and I think that the reason why has been slow the past few months and will continue to be at least till the end of the year is that the studios and the investment people they're not gonna chance losing this nice tax write-off by investing movies and money into movies and hoping
Yeah.
that they'll be successful. I think they're just they're just going to take the loss, take the L, and start fresh next year, quarter one.
And there's the component that they flooded the market. They were battling each other, like the streamers at least, which are considered studios these days, battling each other for catalogs. Basically, they're just trying to build a catalog, and so there was a lot of work. There's a lot of work. So a lot of people entered the industry during a huge growth period when it was very fruitful.
Yep.
And now all those same people that entered the industry are still here, and the demand has gone way down. So now the supply and the demand do not match.
Yeah.
And that's that's every single day on these film forums. Every single day there's somebody talking about the current state of the film industry and how they got to go get a regular job, or that they got to sell their house, or whatever. It's daily.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it sucks to see, but it's the industry kind of correcting itself.
Yeah.
You can't. It's not a sustainable business model. Well, it's not a sustainable business model to just throw a bunch of money at movies that, like, they don't bring anything to the box office. They don't give it a theatrical run, and there are only so many people on planet Earth, bro. Like, how much of the market share does Netflix have? You know what I'm saying? There's only
Pretty
so many people.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have my opinions about that kind of thing too. And I think this might be a time of reckoning where all of the decisions that used to work on paper are now not working, and they're scrambling to figure out what will work. And that's why there's so much stuff that is based off of previous IP coming out. There's no original stories, or I shouldn't say there aren't original stories, because of course there are, but there isn't an emphasis on that as much anymore. It's more about, like, let's do a reboot or a remake, or let's make a movie about a video game because it has this built-in audience already, and are thinking that's a guarantee for success. But they're not listening.
Nope.
They're not putting their ear to the ground and listening to the viewers like you and I and everybody else that we know. They're saying, like, I'm tired of reboots. I'm tired of remakes. I want something new. And I want to believe that they're finally getting the message. It just sucks that they have to take $100 million L in order to hear it. But I mean, that's kind of how we learn, though, isn't it? So, like, I want to believe that, like, they'll start reverting back towards, the logic that we had in the 90s, where, like, the independent film market, blew up. And the reason why, a lot of the reason why, is because people like Quentin Tarantino, Steven Soderbergh, Kevin Smith, those type of independent, auteurs, as people like to call them, were making films that weren't getting made otherwise. They were making stuff that was like cutting edge or different than the studios were making, and that's why people went out in droves to those movies, because it was something new, it was something different. It was like, this is fresh, and think of how stale a lot of the stuff is now. I think there is a need for some freshness, and I think that if they just look back at the history books and take that logic, and instead of putting $100 million into one film, put $10 million into 10 films. Like, give each film $10 million, give them a chance. That's 10 films that could possibly succeed and, blow up in the box office. And then you've recouped all of your money back on all these other films that can still be making money. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're take more of a shotgun approach, instead of just shooting like a single bullet, shoot some buckshot and just fucking splatter the whole target and hope that something hits the bullseye. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Well, to me that makes more sense. You know, instead of because they're hedging on the side of like established IP, they're hedging on the side of sequels, remakes, reboots. They're hedging on that because it's established.
Right.
They're like, okay, we're going to invest this money,
right?
and in theory, this should do great because it's a sequel. In theory, this should do great because it's a reboot or it's a comic book IP.
Yeah.
But the approach where you do $10 million films seems like a better bet because you could spread that across genres. You could spread that across so many different styles because you could have a different filmmaker for each film, and
Yep.
You
could have an action film, you could have a comedy, you could have a musical, you could have everything in there. You could hit
You're taking
all
a more
the
widespread approach. Yeah, yeah. You're taking a more widespread approach than just kind of just like banking. I mean, bro, like, fuck. I went and saw Beetlejuice. Every fucking trailer, every movie trailer that came up was like a musical or an established IP or a sequel.
Yeah.
There was not one original trailer.
Yeah.
And there was fucking, there's 10 previews or whatever, fucking 8 previews before you watch the movie, bro. None of them were original. And, a lot of people are talking about this, man, but it's like, fucking, it's tough because when you want to go and make a movie and you've got fucking 4 studios that are putting money into the movies, you're kind of like, fuck, dude, how do I make this the way I want to make it? And, doing research into like the Blumhouse model where they take the indie approach. They don't spend over, I think it's 10 million now.
Yeah,
they don't spend over $10 million, but they're partnered with Universal, and then Universal does all the marketing.
Right.
And so they have this super strong marketing arm.
Yep.
And that is fucking priceless, right? Like they could do the rollout, right? Like Speak No Evil, for example. They do the rollout, you get a wide release and you're in 1,700 theaters.
Yeah.
They do all of the social media marketing, they do all of like, the bus stops and the billboards and all that kind of shit. Like that is super fucking important. And so, if you can, and also the Blumhouse model is people share in the equity. If it surpasses a certain amount of money, then people get broken off checks.
Yeah, which incentivizes good work, right?
And the technicians.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Which I think is great. I'm glad that not only is somebody doing it, but that it's successful. They have a pretty strong track record. They're like Get Out, first film that I saw on the list. Like, that was a huge success, but I just looked it up, $4.5 million budget. But that I couldn't even tell you how much it actually made, because it didn't come up right away. But they take a lot of risks, but they don't spend a lot of money on them. And when they hit, they hit.
Well,
and
dude,
if they
paranormal fucking activity, activity. I mean,
Halloween
Blumhouse.
Ends. Halloween Ends. That's a sequel, but they only put $33 million into it. It's not $100 million movie.
Yeah.
But they got their money back. And
they put a little more money into their sequels.
Yeah.
From what I've gathered, like from like the podcast and the shit that I've listened to, like they put a little more money into the sequels because it is an established IP and they could hedge a little bit better on that. But I mean the original IP, like no.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. It's fucking the connection. It's like sometimes I'm like stepping on you a little bit. That's my bad, bro. Nobody wanted to make Jordan Peele's Get Out. And then Jason Blum saw the script and he's like, you know what, this is fucking, I'm gonna take a shot on this guy. Like, and it paid off. It paid off because
or like, Split, same thing.
Split was great.
Yeah, it was an awesome film. $9 million budget. Made its money back. And, I'm sure same thing. M. Night Shyamalan's trying to get this movie made, and everybody's telling him no because all these other movies that he did before that didn't succeed. But
that's
Blumhouse
exactly
was
what
like,
happened.
You know what? I'll give you a shot. Because, that IP is based off of Unbreakable, which is a movie that I like, or, I personally like. But I'm assuming Jason Blumhouse also liked it, and at some point liked M. Night Shyamalan movies, and yeah, it's like, fuck it, let's give him a shot, see what happens. What's $9 million
Well, so
to Blumhouse?
he has a philosophy. He has a philosophy that, like, just because it's not always like your last at bat. Sometimes you make a movie and it's just kind of a dud. And bro, you know that could happen in multiple ways. Like, you could have a very solid script, and then you could like, the production could go extremely well, and then it just dies in the edit.
Yeah. Or you could do literally everything right, but the marketing didn't hit.
Exactly. And it's like a sleeper, shit that doesn't hit for a long time, like Boondock Saints or something, where it's just like it didn't have promotion, but it was a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, dude, I love that business model, bro. Like, I've always thought that, like, everybody kind of having equity in the project incentivizes you to do a great job. It gives you more pride in the thing that you're creating, Totally. And if everybody's believing in this project, then the quality will be that much more. I don't know.
I agree.
I would like to do movies that way, but the big hurdle is the marketing aspect of it, and finding a major or finding a studio to help fund the marketing, because, dude, private equity is tough. People that don't invest in movies, because, bro, investing in movies is similar to going to Vegas and putting it all on red.
Yeah. And it's a lot of work. Like, so I'm
and it's a lot of work.
Doing pre-production on a film right now. I'm gonna shoot in hopefully November, December. We're seeking investors right now, but at first the film was originally just going to be like $100,000 movie. It's all set in generally one location, just a couple characters. Doesn't really require a lot of money.
Yeah.
But we approached some investors with the powers that be approach people with the pitch deck, and they're like, we like what we see, but this it's not enough money. The dollar amount's too low. And at first it's like, wait, what? You want to give us? But that once we started talking about it, because one of the producers on the film, he's gone through this process, and it's essentially the same amount of work whether you're doing $100,000 movie or $500,000 movie. And I'm sure it's the same amount of work if you're doing a $1 million movie to like a $5 million movie, and like those ranges,
It's relative within its range,
right?
Like the ultra low budget, the low budget, the mid, Yeah.
And but the takeaway from $100,000 is much lower than a takeaway from $500,000 or $750,000 or whatever. So
yeah, you don't have as much potential because you only put in,
right.
$50K, $30K, whatever the case may be.
Right. So we had to, rework our approach with things, and we're seeking investors with a new revised budget. That revision meant we're now working with a different tier of SAG, actors, and that kind of thing. We'll have more money to throw at a location, stuff like that. Which at the end of the day makes a better film. It garners more interest, if you have a name in your film versus a no name, and I hate to say no name in a derogatory way, but that's kind of how it is with the business. You're a no name until you have a success, and then you're a name, and then you are hopefully getting paid more and more and more as that name becomes more valuable.
And that's part of the packaging process.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you were to explain the packaging process, like and we've talked a lot about like studios or whoever the filmmaker is, or the executive producers, or whoever's investing in the film, like how they hedge their bets. That's the packaging system.
Right.
How would you describe the packaging system?
Like as far as distribution goes?
Just in general, like get a name actor, get a name director, that whole spiel. Getting
all those kind of things, they guarantee success on paper, but it's about creating risk aversion. right? You want to have some semblance of stability with the film, like your lead actor has, historically brought in money. Your director has historically brought in money and or achieved some accolades or, whatever. Those are the kind of things that the studios look for. And but then it's also a genre thing. It's like, where does this film fit into the genre and the greater market? Like, horror films, generally have a larger, because they have a larger demographic. They're typically marketed towards, PG-13 rating, maybe R. R is pushing it, but there are R-rated horror films. But they want to try to create the widest audience that they can with that kind of logic. And but then it's also you're ticking off check boxes, like, does it have this, does it have that, what's the runtime, all of those things factor into whether a distributor buys the film or not, or buys the rights to it, because where does it fit into their palette, their volume of work, where does it fit in,
Right.
is it part of their brand or not, so all those things kind of factor in, and you have to, as much as we all want to be creatively free, there are certain things that we have to adhere to and stuff like that,
And so, like, putting together, like, especially for the indies out there, people that are like, new to making movies, it's like, if you're an unknown director, like, it might help to have like some form of bankable talent. Now,
Yep.
it doesn't need to be fucking Tom Cruise, but it could be
No.
somebody that was like a regular on a TV show, or somebody that has some sense of notoriety, if you
Yeah.
will, in the business, right? And then if and then the best case scenario is you have, a director that has brought in some money. You got a fucking producer that has produced
Mm-hmm.
movies that made money.
Right.
You have your lead who's done shit that's made money. The whole package helps you get distributed.
Right.
But if you're an indie, if you could get one of those, it'll help your odds. It'll help your
Mm-hmm.
chances. If you could
Yeah.
get a bankable actor or whatever, a producer to help you get it done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like take for instance Reservoir Dogs. It was Tarantino's first film, and a lot of the reason why it got made was because of Harvey Keitel. And at the time, he was the biggest name in that film. The only other name that was in it was Lawrence. Crap, what's his last name? The bald-headed guy who was like the organizer. He organized all the guys
Oh,
for the
yeah, yeah,
heist.
yeah. Yes.
He was in a, I don't want to say disgraced place in his career, but he was at a low point. He was, quote unquote, difficult to work with, but he had a name, and so that was one of those factors that Tarantino had put into his plan. Was like, all right, I've got Harvey, I can get Lawrence, now, and I guess Steve Buscemi, but he wasn't that huge of a name when that movie came out, and he wasn't in it very long.
Right.
So, the everybody else in that film, they were
Madsen and
Madsen, Tim Roth, they were all still trying to build their career, and that movie was success for those initial factors. But then once people watched it and they realized how good Michael Madsen was, and Steve Buscemi and all these other people, they're like, okay, this is great, But you need those things. You need the Harvey Keitel to get the money and to get the thing going,
It's like the jump off point.
Exactly. Because in a lot of ways, he was the one that was going to the investors and stuff. He was a producer on that film. He wasn't just an actor. But that movie would not have been made without him.
And it's
It
like,
wouldn't
how
have
do
been a
guys like
success.
us, how do guys like us access people? Because like he probably just read it. He probably just read that shit and was like, I fuck with this. Let's do it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It probably wasn't like, it obviously wasn't a fucking money thing.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Because what did they spend, like $3 million on that movie?
I don't even know.
If that, something like that. I don't know. It wasn't much.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't much.
I mean, and I say that in the
1.2.
in the sense, see, fucking not even,
Yeah.
wasn't even half of what I thought. So
1.2.
So in the scheme of making movies, like $100,000 is like tiny, tiny, tiny budget.
It's so small.
It's tiny. It's minuscule.
Mm-hmm.
And then 500,000 to $1 million, still very small in the scheme of making movies, right?
Oh yeah.
And then like they still consider, what is it, Aric? Like 5 million to 10 million is still considered low budget. Is that the threshold for SAG?
I think I want to say it's
imagine
like 3 million or 2.5 is
it
ultra
3?
low. That's like the upper threshold for ultra low.
And like the average person hears that and is like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like $100,000, fucking. You know, for some people that's like, oh, I make that in 2 years. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's hard to wrap your brain around fucking how much movies cost. But
yeah, it really
Tarantino,
because you got to remember how many people
that cost
are
about
involved.
1.2 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How many people are involved? But like, fucking, you know, you got to feed them. You got to feed those people. Yeah. You got to rent the cameras. You got to get the locations. You got to fucking, you know, you got to pay for permits.
Yep. You got to get production insurance. You got to hire a medic. You got to, you know, do all these things. You have to, like, for certain shoots, you have to have a fire marshal, you know, from the fire department, and you have to pay them because the fire department isn't paying them to be there. So, like, there's a lot of things that, you know, the ordinary average viewer just simply couldn't wrap their brain around. You know, even as a filmmaker, I'm still like, we got to spend money on what? Like, you know, the movie I shot, Legend of the White Dragon, originally was like $1.2 million film, and over the course of reshoots and additional pickups and stuff like that, the budget kind of ballooned towards $3 million. And you know, once we hit that 2.5 mark, we had to hit, you know, new pay scale for our actors and stuff like that. It was kind of a whole thing. But you know, even operating with that much money, it was still hard to make something, you know, because when we first started, we started filming in 2021, and it was right after the industry picked up again after the pandemic, and we spent $100,000 on a COVID officer and all of the COVID tests and all that stuff just to get people eligible to work on the film. You know, $100,000.
Well, that reminds me of the joint that we did in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that ballooned the budget, having to do all that kind of shit.
Yeah,
it was expensive. I remember that. Yeah,
and it's you know, it's part of the cost of playing the game. You know, at that point was like, if you want to play by the rules, you have to do this. And you know, it still blows my mind how much money we spent on it, but it was a necessary evil. You know, like we had to do it because our crew would have gotten sick after like a week if we didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah, you remember fucking when we were in Kansas, our coordinator showed up to a meeting, and then we had everybody tested, and then the test came back, and he had COVID. And everybody's like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah,
we were sitting next to him.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just costs of playing the game, man. You know, there's always going to be costs like that, and especially unforeseen ones. You know, that's why we put contingencies in our budget, you know. But yeah, like it's just part of the process, man. You know, if it wasn't if it wasn't COVID officer, it would be something else, you know.
Straight up, it's always fucking something when it comes to making a movie.
Yeah.
And like the barrier of entry. The barrier of entry to make like theatrical level movies is high, right?
Oh yeah.
But the barrier of entry to make a movie that might appear on streaming doesn't necessarily need to be that high.
No.
And you can find private investors that are willing to take a risk.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you could go this sales agent route or find an aggregator that will distribute your movie, and there are ways.
Yeah.
There are a lot of aggregators, and there are a lot of services that distribute your movies. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of distributors that are shisty, and that their accounting is weird, and they don't actually pay out well, and you got to do your research when it comes to shit like that. But the barrier of entry is It's not as high as a lot of people may think. So what do you like? How do you get in the game, Aric? How'd you get in the game? Because you started out, doing audio engineering.
Yeah.
You started out producing. You started out on the music side, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, you know what? I like this.
Yeah, I was in college. I was pursuing recording engineering. Didn't like the program that I was in at one particular school, so I transferred to Missouri State University, pursuing the same degree. And then I realized it's not the right fit. But I had all these credits for media journalism and film type courses that I didn't want to lose because I'd spent a lot of money on it and a lot of time. And I was interested in that kind of work, and it stumbled into filmmaking, like an intro to filmmaking course at Missouri State, and that was it. I was like, all right, this is what I want to do, because as a teenager, when my parents got a high 8 video camera, I started making my own skate videos and tried fucking around with like stop motion type stuff. At one point I was editing. I edited a skate slash, like, it was kind of like a really cheap CKY with my friends, like jackass type stuff.
Same.
I've
done it. I've done it too. Same thing. Yeah.
But I shot it on high 8 and I dubbed it to VHS. But I had 2 VCRs going, and I had the camera going into one VCR, and then I had a portable CD player that I would queue up a song that I wanted to play in the mix, and then I would have that audio going into the second VCR, and I was playing it all into that VCR. So I was like kind of editing by tape, that way.
So sick. Yeah. I love it.
And I caught the bug, and I never looked back after that in college. But then once I got out of college, it was like, all right, now what do I do? Like, being from Missouri, I was like, where do I go? And in 2010 it was LA or New York. Atlanta wasn't really a thing yet. Austin had its own little small industry going, but the big places were LA and New York. And it's like, well, I don't know anybody in New York. New York's super expensive. I know some people in LA. LA's kind of expensive. I think that's the right move, and that's where Hollywood is, so it just made sense to come here. Then it was like, all right, now what do I do? Like, there wasn't like a job listing type, centralized thing for that. You have to know people, and so I started taking jobs on Craigslist for free, or there was this website called Mandy.com that had some listings for jobs.
I remember Mandy.
Yeah,
I remember that shit.
But a lot of them were low to no pay, but I was like, I don't care. I gotta get in somehow. And then that led to me meeting certain people, and those people kept giving me work because we got along really well and collaborated really well, and it sort of just snowballs from there.
Were you couch surfing, or where were you staying?
When I first moved here, I was sleeping on an air mattress in the the dining room of a 2-bedroom apartment with 3 other people.
Did you? Fucking A. I've been there, bro. Were you still drumming? You were in the drum line, bro.
I was in the drum line. Drumming?
Were you still playing music when you got out here?
I sold my drum set to move out here, so I didn't.
Oh, so that was like part of the moving money.
Yeah. Which
I
was
used to play drums too, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I knew that.
I was a drummer in I was a drummer in a bunch of hardcore bands.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I shredded. I was a shredder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. When in perfect world, when I'm making more money and I have a place of my own, I'm gonna have a room with a drum set. And
I think about it all the time.
I think about it so often, but
I think about it all the time.
Right.
Yeah, dude.
I miss it,
Fuck,
man.
I miss it. I miss it.
It's fun. It's a nice release, so Like when I was playing, recreationally at home on the drum set, I was, I'd cue up, Limp Bizkit or Korn or whatever music I was, that I was listening to at the time, and I just try to play along, And I wasn't trying to write my own music or anything. There was just something really fun about doing that, just trying to keep up.
When you're talking about Limp Bizkit, did you play My Generation?
Oh,
John Otto, take him to the Matthews Bridge.
Yeah,
I could
dude.
just see you.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I tried my best to keep up. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, there was something really fun about that I miss, you know?
Well, bro, so basically you're an artist. You know? You're an artist through
I
and
don't
through.
like to think of myself as one, but yeah, I am, you know?
But it's true, man, and it was the same for me, man. Like you're an artist. You know, I heard a really fucking awesome quote. It was Mos Def, and he was like, most people who love art become artists because they love it so much that they have to make it.
Yeah, or like get
That's
involved in it in some way. Yeah. Like if you're not a creator, you're a
Yeah.
distributor, or like say in the art world, you're in the business of buying paintings, or dealing them, or that kind of thing, or you work in a museum, because you want to be around it all day long. That's totally.
Well, creativity is like creativity. It flows through everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And some people I feel like are more in tune to it. Where does creativity come from?
Creativity comes from, I think it's a desire to, how do I articulate that? It comes from desire, for sure. Whether it's a desire of creating something new, or like seeing something in the world that hasn't been seen before, or like trying to, just get this crazy idea out of your head. I don't know. It's tough to pinpoint that exactly, but I would say desire is a big part of it. All I know.
Right. It comes from within.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it seems like it could be sometimes, when you feel like you're like receiving something from the ether.
Yeah.
And you're like the conduit. Like this, I'm sure has happened to you when you're writing or when you're thinking up shots or something like that. It's just like I feel like I'm receiving this from the source.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And and it could, it also could be like a biological process, because both of my parents are super creative and artistic, and my brothers are the same way. And
I mean, maybe
there could be a component that is like physical, like it's hard to pinpoint.
Yeah, and I mean, there's definitely something to that. For instance, the nepotism of actors and actresses in Hollywood, or like musicians. The same thing. Like, certain people are imbued with talent. And talent it's not exactly quantifiable, right? Like, I think like talent is just like a minor part of what a creative artist needs in order to be a creative artist. I think talent in a lot of ways is manufactured through practicing, through that desire to get better.
Technical skills,
right? It's like Stephen Curry didn't just wake up one morning and, he's an NBA superstar. No, he spent hours and hours and hours at the basketball court shooting free throws or three-pointers or whatever, to the point where, like I watched this video, he's so in tune with his skill that there was a game he was, it was like warming up for, and he was dribbling the ball and he hit a dead spot in the floor. Like, he knew that the ball didn't bounce right. And so he spent like, a minute or whatever bouncing the ball around trying to find the dead spot, and he found it and got some person that works at this arena to come fix it or whatever, or pointed it out to him. But like he's so in tune with his dribble and, his arm movements and everything that he could see that, he could feel that, and that doesn't come from nowhere.
It's just automatic at this point. Because of the repetitions.
Because he's put in the 100,000 hours of dribbling a basketball, on all of these different hardwood floors that react similarly. It's like it didn't just come from nowhere.
Fucking repetitions, man. It seems as though repetitions, when it comes to developing your skill and developing your technical ability, repetitions seem like the end all be all when it comes to that kind of shit.
Oh yeah.
You got to just do it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and bro, you've been on fucking how many sets?
Oh Jesus.
How many sets do you think you've been on, bro? So you've been in the game for 14 years, okay? And every time, like most of the time, you're on set for at least 12 hours.
Yeah.
So like fucking, how many hours is that, bro? You're way over 10,000 at this point.
Yeah, I guess I haven't really thought about that, but yeah, like you know, it's if I had to average it, probably 3 to 5 sets a month. Three to five different ones when times were, you know, good. Of course, things are a little slower now, but
a little frothy.
Yeah, like average, like, or you know, maybe 2 jobs a week. That I guess my strongest was about 2 jobs a week, 2 different jobs with different crews and stuff like that. So, you know, God knows how many people I've met and how many hours I've put in on however many different sets at this point. I couldn't even tell you. But, you know, there's a lot of constants with the motion of a set. You know, you have your constant crew members. You know, like obviously you have a director at every shoot. You know, we'd love to have a first AD at every shoot. We don't always have one, but
right,
you know, like a cinematographer is always there. Sound guy is almost always there. You know, but they all, you know, they're all different people, but they all have similar, you know, attributes and characteristics that, you know, it's like you kind of, it's tough to explain. I'm rambling a little bit, but you get in tune with the constants of the film set, you know, and then when things stand out, it's like for instance, like Rust. You know, if I was on that shoot, that would have stood out like a sore thumb to me. With the, you know, the armorer is just leaving guns sitting around, and you know, stuff like that. Like that's not common, you know. So, and I'm sure that a lot of the people that left saw that too, and that's why they left. It's like I don't want to be a part of this because this isn't how it normally operates. And you learn that stuff over years of exposure to it, you know. I'm lucky to say that, you know, I started my career working as a PA, working on some pretty big reality shows like MasterChef 6, Junior.
Love MasterChef.
Junior 4. I worked on Food Network Star 13, I think it was. Some pretty big shows, you know, we're taking over stages at Disney or CBS, and you know, going through security and doing all these different things, you know, like, you know, that's not a thing that everybody gets exposed to so early on in their career, you know, and I'm very grateful for that because, you know, it showed me how things should be. And, you know, I try to take that knowledge to the independent productions that I work on. And
what's something that people don't know about like a big reality show set like that, like a cooking competition, you know? Because I watch all those cooking competition shows.
Yeah.
And every time they get brought a plate and they take fucking 2 bites of that shit, where does the rest of it go? Do they just throw it away?
Okay. Yeah, that's a really good question. So yeah, they'll take 2 bites of it. They'll take it off to another room. The crew members typically don't eat it, which is
the crew doesn't get to eat any of that shit.
Yeah, unfortunately. At least not the greater crew. There might be certain people of the crew, like the culinary people, who like for instance on MasterChef, there's a whole culinary team that has their own kitchen off in a, like on season 6 we were on the Disney lot, so the main stage was stage 2, but then the cooking stage was stage 4, and then, you know, the interview stuff that they do, that was a set that was built on stage 3, and stage 3 had all the other storage, you know, stuff, you know, the production needed. So, you know, like there's a whole culinary department who is, you know, in some ways they're teaching the chefs how to do certain techniques because they may not have learned how to do that stuff before, you know. That's why some of those, you know, like for instance when they're doing the auditions and you got the like Cajun dude or whatever, and suddenly he can do, you know, fucking, you know, hollandaise sauce perfectly, and like You know,
Yeah,
they learn some of that stuff, but you know, it's not.
that's crazy. I did
Yeah,
not know that, man. That they get
yeah,
taught that shit. Yeah,
yeah. They get taught certain things, but then you know, it is up to them to apply that knowledge, right? So like all as far as competition shows go, the cooking shows I think were the most genuine, and they have what do they call them? It's like a standards type person, but they focus on the gaming aspect of it to make sure that everyone's playing fair. There's like an actual
right.
person that does that job on
That's fucking
bigger
crazy.
competition shows like that. And you know, so it is genuine. So when they do win, they win, right?
Yeah,
But then, you know, there might be some other competition shows out there, not necessarily cooking, but they may, you know, they may game the system a little bit. I can't speak to that, but as far as MasterChef goes and Food Network Star, those were all genuine, and it was really pretty cool to see, honestly, from you know behind the scenes perspective of it.
thank goodness, because I love those shows. I
Yeah.
just finished that last season of MasterChef. Anything Gordon Ramsay does, I'm like fucking all over it, man. He's
Yeah.
fucking love that guy. I don't know, man. He's just so fucking funny. But he's just like, it's, you know what? It's fun to see just like a master of their craft.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yep.
like fucking Gordon Ramsay is a true master, and it's cool to see him fucking just tasting food and giving advice and giving feedback and shit. Were you an AC on that?
I was a PA on that. I worked with
Oh, you're a
production
PA on that?
yeah.
Okay.
And
Um,
but I
when did
worked
you
on it
start?
for it was like a solid 6 month run or whatever.
So you did like a full season.
We did a full season of MasterChef 6, and then we started taping Junior 4 immediately after,
Okay.
and using the same space and everything. The it it was great in the sense that I had that much work, you know, on a consistent basis. There was, you know, a huge crew that I got to know, you know, really well. Geez, probably 150, 200 people that worked on that show in any given
Damn.
factor, you know. Like,
Yeah.
you know, there's construction people who are, you know, building the sets and designing new sets and doing all this stuff. And when the show is done, they come in and tear it all down piece by piece and label it and put it back into a storage container so that they can take it out and put it all back together again the exact same way next season. You know?
See, that's so crazy. You see
Yeah.
those sets, those big elaborate sets, especially something like MasterChef, where it's just like fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
And then
Like-
they tear it all down every
Yeah.
season and rebuild it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Yeah.
damn, bro. And I understand. It's like, okay, there are other productions that need to book that space, but it's crazy to me that they don't just leave that shit up for the next season. You know what I mean? It's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, like certain shows do. Like, for instance, I worked on a show called Paternity Court in its first season, and we filmed at Sunset Bronson Studios, and that's where they film, or they used to film, Let's Make a Deal. And so they had their set, you know, standing because they were filming, 40 weeks out of the year or something. Like they're making episodes pretty much every week.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So like there's a reason for that to stay up, but you know when MasterChef is only on for X amount of time, you gotta move. But yeah, like the set may stay the same, but the studio or location that they shot it in it differs from season to season. But you wouldn't know it because of that
Bro.
that huge crew that put it all together. They have blueprints and you know pictures and God knows what else references that they use to put all that together. You know, and it's really cool to see. You know,
That's badass, man.
Yeah.
So when did you start? When did you move from PAing to first ACing? I'm sure you've probably told me this. I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean,
when
it wasn't
that started.
It was kind of a gradual move. You know, once I mean, yeah, there are a few things going at play there, but I kind of got jaded with being a PA, and I was like, I gotta figure out how to get out of this hole, because you know every show that I worked on, I went to the camera department every time, and I was like, hey, if you guys need help, if you guys need a extra set of hands or whatever, let me know. I'd love to help you guys out, and it never really panned out that way. It worked out the way that I wanted. It's not to say that it doesn't, but it just didn't work for me, and so then I had to stop taking PA calls Like people were offering me a job. I said, unfortunately, I can't do it unless it was like a short term kind of thing. And then I went back to that logic of getting on Craigslist and Mandy.com and taking jobs, but only I started doing grip and lighting, you know, because my ultimate goal was being a cinematographer. And so it's like, I think I need to learn some of this gear. I needed to learn some of the techniques and, you know, figure out how that factors into being a cinematographer. Because I knew certain things about lighting, but I had a lot to learn. And so I went that route for a couple years. And then same thing again, was like, all right, I want to get into camera. How do I do it? And so then I go back to Craigslist again, start doing free stuff or like hitting friends up and like, hey, if you have any projects, I'd love to shoot it. Or, you know, I was making stuff with my friends and my roommates, you know, on the weekends, the whole weekend warrior filmmaking thing, you know, just to get experience and, you know, something to put down on a resume, you know, because, you know, that's kind of what it's all about, is stacking up credits, you know, giving yourself credibility at a certain thing. And so I had to build credits as, you know, industry newbie, and then I had to build credits as a, you know, newbie cinematographer, and I'm still doing that now. But now I have a couple credits under my belt as a cinematographer, but like it's the same thing. It's like, what's next? Like, what do I do? Like, how do I move up to that next echelon of work, you know? And it comes back to meeting new people, getting out of your old circle, you know, trying to create a new circle, you know, branching out of that box that you're in, you know. And it's not easy to do, but it's just part of the thing of being an artist, you know.
It's probably tough to like turn down jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just be like, fucking, I gotta say no to money.
Yeah.
Because I'm pursuing some other shit.
Yeah, and you know, it doesn't go away even the higher up you go. Like, I'm sure, you know, Kate Blanchett turns down $20 million projects all the time, you know, because it doesn't fit her brand, or it's not something that she wants to do, or, you know, that kind of thing, you know. And, you know, it must be nice to be able to turn that kind of money down. But you know, it kind of comes with the territory. It's like if someone came to me right now asking me to shoot a $3 million project, I could say yes, I can do it because I have. But you know, I didn't get there overnight. You know, it started shooting stuff for free for a long time. You know, just shooting music videos for friends, or you know, their band, or like a couple projects I had to create for myself. Like I went to a band and I was like, hey, I want to make you a music video. And they were like, shit, really? Okay, yeah. And we did it. And then I ended up making another one for them. And granted, I didn't get paid for it, but it was experience that I got, you know, and I think that's part of the pay. You know, just because you're going out there and doing work for free doesn't mean that you're getting ripped off. If you're going into it with the right approach, and you're doing it with the right people, because there are people out there who will exploit that, who will use that to their advantage, and you have to know when to say no to people like that. But that also comes with experience. You gotta go through something like that to see the science, you know.
Well, bro, like I fucking, how do you expect to get paid to get hired on to shit when you have zero experience, like literally no experience?
Right, it's credibility.
I see people saying like never work for free. I see that all the fucking time. And I don't know if it's people that went to film school and like they worked in film school and then were injected into the industry, or what, however, if union people, I don't know. But like, bro, how do you like put yourself in a producer's shoes for a moment, and you're hiring your crew and you have somebody that has literally zero experience? Like, how am I supposed to pay you? I did the same thing, bro. Mm-hmm. I shot so much shit for free before somebody was like, how much? I was like, oh, fucking $500.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. Sure. All right. Sweet. It was like, I had to work up to that. You know what I mean? And like, you know, if you don't go to school, you don't necessarily have like a portfolio or a resume or anything. Mm-hmm. You got to put together your own portfolio.
Right.
And if I was like an artist or a musician or some shit, like I wouldn't. If somebody had zero experience and like, yo, I want to do a free video, I'd be like, fuck yeah, let's go. But if somebody was like, yo, I'm doing a video, I have zero experience, and you need to pay me $1,000, I'd be like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Well, let me
You know
see
what I
your
mean?
reel first, I guess. You know, if you got one at all. But yeah,
Well,
it's
yeah.
like you got to
If
create
they say
credibility.
if they have no experience, I don't know, bro. It's like people say that shit all the time. It's like never work for free. It's like, bro, I wouldn't. If the tables were turned, I wouldn't pay me to shoot some shit if I had zero experience.
Right.
I have to get
Right.
some fucking experience. So that means you got to work for free, bro. You know, you
Yeah.
got to invest time. You got to invest some money into a camera.
Yeah.
You got to invest your time into learning your editing software. You know, and you gotta do some shit for free before you can expect to get paid.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just my philosophy.
That's my philosophy too, and you know, so far it worked out. For instance, Legend of the White Dragon. I can attribute that project, that $3 million movie, to one person that I met on a job that I worked for free 10 years ago, and he
10 years ago.
you know, or more like 12 years ago, actually. But, you know, I met him on a movie. I just got on Craigslist, found a listing for some ultra low budget independent feature film, and they needed extra hands for camera and stuff like that. And I was like, all right, yeah, sure, I'm in. I met the DP of that, and he was doing it for free because he was gaining experience trying to, you know, build that resume and reel, you know, but we got along really well, and to the point where I could almost like read his mind, he could read my mind. We had similar sensibilities in our style and everything, so we started working together on stuff, and then it led to some paid work. And he was, for a long while, he was the cinematographer of the stuff for Bat in the Sun, the YouTube channel where they're doing all the superpower beatdowns. And he brought me onto those things as, in a lighting capacity. So I was helping him gaff some of those projects. And then Bat in the Sun, they picked up this project for Valiant Comics called Ninjak. It was based on one of their characters. So we did that series, and I was the gaffer for that. And at some point after that project was done, Joey, the cinematographer, same name as you, buddy, he moved on to, he worked for G4. He got a job with G4 and Collider and a couple other website kind of companies like that. And he was taking a step back from everything, but he vouched for me and was like, hey, you know, Eric's been here for a lot of stuff. He knows what you guys are trying to do. I think he'd be a great fit, you know, as a cinematographer. And so I stepped in and I did a few videos for them, got paid, you know, a couple $100 or whatever a day to do it. But we got a few videos under my belt, and then I built a stronger reel. And you know, Bat in the Sun as a company, they started, you know, building their stuff up too, and we just kind of grew together. Then it came down to shooting the Batman short. Dying is Easy, and we did that, and that was, you know, for us, that was a pretty big project. I think we spent,
and it looked awesome.
Yeah, I'm really proud of the way it came out.
Fucking dude, it looked awesome, man.
Yeah.
Like between your cinematography and like the VFX, like fucking the VFX, bro, is like,
Yeah.
You know, you see some shit, you know, you hear about like how VFX have like taken a step back, and you know why that is.
Yeah.
Because the deadlines and them getting rushed and shit,
Yeah.
just not having enough time. But like, you guys hired like some dude from fucking Russia, right?
Ukraine, yeah, or Crimea.
From fucking Ukraine.
Yeah,
Bro,
Yeah.
some Slavic country. Yeah, and you hired him, and he was like, he did a phenomenal job, and he wasn't super expensive.
Nope.
But
He's
you guys
still
gave
not.
him time. You guys gave him time to do it.
Yeah. Well, and you know, again, going back to the whole, you know, networking kind of angle to filmmaking is they got connected. Aaron, the director of Bat in the Sun, and Nikolai, the visual effects artist, they got connected through. It was like a DM kind of situation where, like Nikolai had some visual effects videos on YouTube or whatever, and Aaron saw them, and they made contact with each other. and they just started working together, you know. And then same with my relationship to them, he's grown along with the company as well. His skill set has just gotten insane. That dude is so good at visual effects.
It looked so good.
It's
dude.
unreal.
It was crazy.
I cannot wait for people to see what we all did together, but especially Nikolai for Legend of the White Dragon. For me, being the cinematographer of the film, he is very much in charge of the final creative look, you know?
Right.
Like, I made a lot of decisions as far as color and camera movement and lens and stuff like that, but, you know, at a certain point, you're handing it off. I was like, okay, now you do your thing. And,
right.
You know, more often than not, and actually, he's never disappointed me, but, like, more often than not, he's bringing stuff to the next level, and it's so cool to be just a smaller part of that bigger machine. I have a lot of pride in that.
Fuck
you know?
yeah.
Because I'm a firm believer in the collaborative process of filmmaking, and you know the power and beauty of that. You know, for as much as I love watching an auteur like Tarantino or whatever, you know, he's also, you know, deferring a lot of those creative decisions to people that he trusts, like Robert Richardson or whatever. Same Martin Scorsese and his cinematographers.
Yeah.
He's putting a lot of trust in those guys or people, you know. And so, you know, you have to be open to that collaboration. There's nothing wrong with being firm about your ideas and saying this is what I want, but you also have to be open to stuff too, you know, because you may not have everything figured out.
Absolutely, man. I mean, that's one of my favorite aspects of the whole filmmaking process.
Yeah.
Is how collaborative it is.
Mine too.
Because it's kind of where so many disciplines of art converge.
Yep.
It's you know, just having the ability to take people who are experts in their fields, technicians, people that are just artists in every field, and bring them all together on one set, and then we have a common goal to achieve. It's fucking exhilarating. Like, there's fucking bro, there's few places I'd rather be than a film set.
Yeah, there's something really cool about that.
You know, I mean,
you know,
obviously.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, obviously, in the right conditions.
Yeah.
When you're working with the right people, and you know what I mean. Like, if it's a thriving environment where people get to express their ideas and people are treated with respect and dignity,
I'm all about it.
A film set is fucking an exhilarating, amazing fucking place to be, bro.
Yeah, and you know, like with films, there's so many little micro decisions that are happening on a moment by moment basis, you know, and you know, we wouldn't be able to move the mountains that we move as a film crew without that respect for the collaborative process, but also like just having that vision and goal in mind as a crew. You know, when everybody knows what they're doing for the film, you literally can move mountains. You can literally do things that no one person can do alone, you know, and there's something really cool about that, you know. Like one of the comparisons that I've felt and heard over the years is that, you know, being a film crew member is a lot like being in the military. You know, it's not necessarily the same. Like, we're not shooting at people, and we're not, you know,
getting shot at.
We're not getting shot at or anything. We're not saving the world from tyranny or anything like that. But, you know, we have our own specialized jobs in the greater crew, and we all have our own lingo. You know, we say, copy that, 10-4, or, you know, going 10-2, you know.
Gotta go 10-2.
Grab me a stinger, you know. We have our own unique verbiage and things, and, you know, there are only so many jobs or lines of work that have that kind of thing. And the military, you know, like, they can come in and they can ford a river in 10 minutes because they have all these people that come in, or like they'll build a bridge or, you know, whatever, and they do it all because they're all They all have the goal and vision in mind, and they're all doing their part. And I love it. I love being a part of that, you know?
I fucking fell in love with it instantly, bro.
Yeah.
That set that I met you on.
Mm-hmm.
That set that I met you on.
Which I heard that movie's
that's where it
coming out
happened
soon.
for me, bro.
I heard that's coming out soon. But it's not called
Really?
it's not called Isaac anymore. It's called something else. I can't remember.
It's called something else, like Love and something.
Yeah. Yeah, what the hell was it called? Yeah, it's like Love and Death or Love and...
Yeah, Love and Death or some shit.
What the hell was it? I can't remember now. Sorry I brought it up.
Love Me. It's called Love Me Dead.
Love Me Dead. Yes. Yeah, Love Me Dead.
Which is, that's an interesting choice.
And that's probably a...
You know how it goes when the distributor picks it up and they typically change it and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, originally it was called Isaac because the main character of the film is called Isaac, and it centers on, his... I don't want to spoil anything, but, his story. It centers on his intriguing
crazy
story.
Life. His crazy life.
So, but yeah, it was probably, when it came to distributing the film, it was probably like, all right, what about Love Me Dead? What do you think about that? Because it hits these key words that, marketing teams love to hear, and, that's part of it. But,
yeah, absolutely.
Because it does raise more intrigue.
I know you've been doing a lot of... It does. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's just the name, but it's just like when you get used to saying that, is like seeing it on the call sheet and all that kind of shit. You're like, it's weird when it gets changed.
Mm-hmm. You and I will always call it Isaac, no matter what.
We will, because we worked on it. I got a couple more questions just to kind of wrap it up. You've been doing a lot more cinematography kind of stuff. You've been DPing more.
Yeah.
But I know that like every, but you've primarily, you went from PAing to first AC. What, like, working in the camera department, but like also just being a first AC, besides like, people shouldn't leave their fucking water bottles on the camera cart. Like, what is something that you want people to know about being a first AC that they don't know? And then like other crew members, what do you wish that they know?
One, I guess it's a couple things, but one, we deal with very expensive and delicate equipment, and that kind of goes towards your point about people leaving water bottles on the camera cart, is that we have to have this hyper sense of awareness of those things at all times. We gotta worry about, like, say when a makeup person comes in to do touch-ups on their talent, and like for instance the scene, the character's supposed to be sweaty, the makeup person's gonna come in and they're gonna spritz water on their face. Well, we have to cover up the camera lens every time they do that, because when you spray stuff, you might be spraying it in a direction, but there's still particulates and stuff that go out into the air, and so that you might get moisture on the lens, and which can create aberrations in your image, but then also can create mold if you don't take care of it right away, and that stuff can get into the lens and create fungus, and it makes a $40,000 lens unusable. And it's something as simple as that, or like a grain of sand can get in somewhere, someplace, and totally ruin the whole thing. And so we have to be really careful about stuff. And it may not be that obvious to the average person, but we are constantly worrying about that stuff. Then there's also, what was the other point I wanted to make? It's a very technical job, and when you're dealing with technical jobs, there's a lot of problem solving, and as you gain more experience, you get better and quicker about those solutions. But we're as camera people, we're dealing with problems on a moment by moment basis, on a shot by shot basis. It's one of those things that it doesn't necessarily get seen. It's not something that gets brought up when a movie's being marketed or anything like that. But it's part of the process. And it's one thing that I love about being in the camera department, and it's not exclusive to the camera department, but it is a unique thing with us because we have so many factors that go into the composition. Stuff like camera builds. Are you doing a handheld job, or are you doing Steadicam? Are you doing a gimbal? Are you doing a mixture of those things? Are you doing a car mount? Are we putting the camera on in a helicopter? And there's so many different things that we have to consider for each and every job. And it's not just plug and play, catered to the production. It's not something that gets acknowledged very much. But it's part of what I do and what I love about it. That we have so many technical things going on, and it's a thankless job in a lot of ways. It is. I don't need thanks for it. I get my pride in other ways. Just getting through the production is one thing. Like, oh my God, we made it through. We did it. We shot the thing. But yeah, it's like as a filmmaker, I'll always know where like the technical hurdles we had to get over in order to achieve a certain shot that looks effortless or whatever, and I take pride in that. It's really cool. It's like seeing behind the curtain, in the Land of Oz, it kind of ruins the magic, but at the same time, there's something really cool and magical about that. Like we're deceiving people, and we're creating magic with the things that we do. It's really cool.
Well, it's like when you become a filmmaker and you start working in the industry, you either are like super stoked when you learn about how shit is made, and you're like, oh, I think I know how this shot was done, and like how the sausage is made, so to speak. You either like adds to the allure of it all, or it takes it away. You know what I mean? But what's funny about that is like it being a thankless job, and like knowing about that is like you get these like new directors, I'm sure, that are like, let's I want to do this shot, I want to do this close up handheld, and then I want to do like a gimbal shot right after it, and then I want to put it on sticks after that, and then the AD's like, we have an
yeah,
and you're like, you're gonna have to pick one, buddy.
Or you have that situation.
And that's some shit like a lot of new directors don't know. They don't understand the setup time.
Or you have the situation where it's like, we only have an hour and we have to do all those things because we have to do all those things. And like, oh shit, now we gotta come up with a game plan. We have to, do things in a certain way, or we only get X amount of takes per camera setup kind of thing. We have to, it's a problem solving on a moment by moment basis. Like even with pre-planning, we do a lot of pre-planning, but a lot of that stuff goes out the fucking window when certain things aren't the way we thought they were going to be, and then you have to come up with a new plan. It's part of being a filmmaker. And I love that though. It's fun.
It's fun though. It's fucking fun. Yeah. You got to figure it out, especially when you're like creeping up on OT.
Time is money.
You know what I'm saying? You got to fucking make a decision. You got to scrap some shots. You got to put some lines through some dialogue. You got to fucking, you know what I mean? Like you got to really figure this shit out.
I've been on a bunch of shoots like
Producer's gonna get pissed.
Yep.
Fuck it, bro. It happens. It probably happens more than it doesn't happen.
I mean, not from my personal experience.
Time is always a factor, though. Let's be real. Yeah. Time is fucking always a factor. There's never enough time,
and there's never enough money.
There's never enough.
And there's always. It doesn't matter if it's a low budget project or a big budget project. There's always going to be that what if, like what if we could have done that? What if we did this? Like we're as filmmakers, I don't know that we're ever truly satisfied. Or as creative artists, we're never truly satisfied. We're satisfied with where we're leaving it. You know what I'm saying? It's like you have to know when to put the brush down.
Fuck yeah.
But, if we had our way, we'd never put the brush
Yeah.
down. We'd never finish until it was perfect. But, perfection is also the enemy of filmmaking too. It's like, if you're chasing perfection, then you're never going to get the whole thing done on a timely basis. It's like you have to make compromises. You have to, make concessions. As much as I want to have this thing, I can't do it because of this reason. I need money for this other thing, or we need more time for this thing. And so now I have to sacrifice what I envisioned so I can achieve those things. And we're never going to be satisfied. Martin Scorsese, I'm sure, is still like, if you pick one of his films and be like, oh yeah, I wish I could have done that. Wish I could have gotten so and so to be in it, or get an extra $5 million so I could have done this. It's like we're never going to be satisfied. But yeah, we just put the brush down, man, at some point. All right, I'm done. I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on to a new thing.
I like that analogy.
Yeah,
put the brush down. I think that's like a good. I think that's a good. It's a good stopping point for us. We got to put the brush down on this. My brother, you are a fucking amazing individual.
Likewise.
Love the fuck out of you. I'm so glad that you took this time to kick it with me and talk with me. I just fucking appreciate you so much and all your insight and being my friend.
Likewise, man. Likewise.